appropriateness, the Borough of Manhattan. It's 353 West 20th Street, Chelsea Historic District, docket number 163465. Transitional Greek Revival Italianate style row house built in 1852-53. The application is to construct rooftop and rear yard additions and to excavate the rear yard.
Good evening, Commissioners. Edith Bellinghausen, Reservation staff. 353 West 20th Street is located here on the north side of 20th, right at the edge of the Chelsea Historic District, between 8th and 9th Avenues. This is the front facade, the 3-story plus basement house. Constructed in 1853, you'll note that it is not part of a row. The proposal, just want to note also that in 2012, there was a commission approval of a full-height rear yard addition, but that was not constructed. So just keep that in mind. And the proposal before you today, there's a new owner and a new architect on the project. And the proposal is to construct a full-height rear yard addition, as well as a single-story rooftop addition, and to excavate the cellar and full rear yard. As shown here in elevation, there is staff-level restorative work also happening at the front facade as a note. And then also as shown here at the rear elevation, existing and proposed. So again, that's at the front, existing and proposed, the single-story rooftop addition, and again at the rear. Then, as shown here in section, this shows you the proposed excavation at the rear yard, which extends to the full lot line, and includes a stair at the edge of the yard. So just in terms of visibility, as I noted earlier, the building is on the edge of the historic district, and to the north there is a large playground through which you can see a portion of the addition, notably a portion of the one-story addition and some rooftop mechanicals are visible through here in conjunction, shown in the context with the other rear facades. This is the mock-up that was done. Again, here, in terms of visibility over the primary facade at West 20th Street, it's really just an extension of an existing masonry chimney shown here. Otherwise, there's no visibility along 20th Street. And again, this is a close-up just of the mock-up as seen again through this rear playground with some mechanicals and the rear facade. This is a rendering of the proposed addition. This is the one-story. And this is the full height rear. I believe it's a brick veneer. The architect is here to answer any questions on any details about that. And that's hand it off. If there's anything you would like to add.
The rear yard, butts up to. I'm sorry. Ross Chan, with the architects of the project. On the Chelsea district, this house is right up to the edge of the district, and the rear yard faces a non-historical district. So as you move through the playground, it's fun. It's also very it's an eclectic environment back there. There is no real donut. The brick on the rear facade will all be recycled brick from the rear facade that exists, and that condition of that wall not in great shape.
Yes, hi. Is the enlargement at the rear? It's not proud of any of the two buildings.
Yeah, it's actually about 18 inches shy
Sure,
of
okay.
one to the west and about 10 feet shy of one to the east.
Okay. Questions?
What is it that we see that is the rear facade extension? What part is it that's visible?
You probably read about. You've probably seen somewhere in just this section here, and a little bit of mechanical above it, especially the platforms for the firemen, right out of that.
The what?
The
FDNY platforms.
FDNY platforms,
The
and
fences.
that pushes the mechanical above it.
Is the excavation, there's currently a cellar, right? And so the excavation is just in the back. And what is its dimension? I'm going to look at that plan. So do they need to get approval from Department of Buildings or from city planning on excavation like this?
It is reviewed by Buildings Department,
Prior or post?
post.
Us?
Post.
But on other projects, one of the things that we always looked at was if there was some strip between where the excavation stopped and the property line so that you could have planting.
Mhm.
Because that was one of the characteristics of that open area.
Right.
Right.
In some cases, we did ask them to make like a 4 or
5 feet. I think we saw a case today also where they came and if they had set back their excavation by 5 feet. No, it's set back. It's set back 5 feet. And usually staff will work with applicants and suggest that up front because the commission has been asking for that, I think just for a long time now. So that would, to ask them to cut back by 5 feet would be very consistent.
May I make one point that the
Yes.
lot is only 74 feet deep? It's a short lot. It's about 74 feet, but we still maintain the 30-foot rear yard.
Right, I understand that it's a shorter lot than 100 feet, but you still would get, we're really just talking about the 5 feet at the back. And so you don't foreclose the fact that you may not be able to do any planting, so. Okay. All right. Are there any questions for the applicant? And otherwise, we can close the hearing. Okay. I'm sorry, we didn't take testimony. Barbara, please come.
Barbara Zay of the Historic Districts Council. HDC finds the rear extension on this mid-19th century row house to be out of keeping with the building and the rest of the row in its scale and materials. A more sensitive approach would leave the top floor intact in order to show the original fenestration pattern. Our committee feels that since there are other ways to introduce more glass to the rear without such a heavy-handed steel surround, the rear should be restudied. This is especially important due to the visibility of this rear facade through the playground across the street. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Community Board, 4 requests the Commission revisit and clarify its position regarding alterations within historic districts which are not visible from the public way. The Board would appreciate an opportunity to discuss this issue. Okay, so I think, is there something where, oh, okay. Approval with reservations because rooftop addition is visible from windows of neighboring buildings. All right. Are there any other questions for the applicant? Yes.
Are your rear windows operable? So they pivot? Because I don't see,
Some will slide and some will pivot. So these 3 at the bottom will slide, and then, I believe it's every 1, 3, 5 will slide as well. And I'm sorry, there's one that pivots, right? Which one pivots?
The second story up from them.
Yeah.
Is this the same plane as the original building? Or
No, it's 4 feet out, but back, but still shy of 2 adjacent buildings, and still maintains a 30-foot rear yard.
Can you just speak to the visibility of this building? I know that you said it's across the schoolyard.
This is the school, right?
which is not in the district.
It's on 20, right. So what do you can see it, is
You
that?
can see it's from through this blue fence. You can see that little bit of orange on the top. And you'll see pretty much just probably the corner right about here, and some mechanicals above it. From the front, you will only see a little bit of the chimney, which is right here.
Okay.
That's just a 2-foot extension, and that's kind of stucco. We're going to reclad the whole thing in brick.
And is this building out further than other buildings beside you?
No.
it's
No,
actually
it's shy.
It's the same?
No, it's back.
shy.
shy.
No, it's in.
And could you just go back to the existing elevation? Okay, so you're adding another floor, and so I'm just curious, the commission's previous approval was also for a rear yard, right?
Correct.
Enlargement of all floors, and, but didn't include there's a rooftop addition as well, okay.
That was in the-
That's right. It was a previous owner, previous architect, and that featured large windows like this and balcony, balconettes on each
Okay.
floor.
Actually, like a triangle balconies kind of sticking out.
Okay, triangular balconies, okay. All right, any other questions for the?
Not questions, I have
Okay, yeah,
comment,
wanna
which
go
is
to
just,
comments?
yeah.
Okay, so, thank you. We're going to go into comments. Okay, Adi, go ahead.
I understand that it's a little bit visible, but I actually think that this is one rear yard facade that should be made visible. I think it's quite elegant and beautiful. And there's just something about the proportions of the steel to the way that you've done the brick coursing and reused the brick that I think is just very convincing. So I approve.
Okay, other comments? I think I'm fine with this, and I think with the excavation being cut back by 5 feet, I think we'll be fine with it. Is everybody okay? All right, good. So we can close the hearing, John.
In the matter of docket number 16-3465, 353 West 20th Street in the Chelsea Historic District, the application is to construct rooftop and rear yard additions and to excavate the rear yard. I note the style, scale, materials, and details of the building are among the features which contribute to the special architectural and historic character of the Chelsea Historic District. I recommend approval with a modification, finding that the restoration of architectural features at the primary facade will bring the building closer to its historic appearance, that the construction of additions at the rear facade and roof will not alter, eliminate, or conceal any significant architectural features of the building or site, that the building is not part of a row and therefore the design volume and massing of the additions will not disrupt a unified row, that the proposed single-story rooftop addition will not be visible over the primary facade, that the existing rear facade is set back from its neighbors, and that the proposed rear yard addition will not extend beyond the rear facades of the adjacent buildings. Therefore, a full-height addition will not overwhelm these buildings or the central green space. That the proposed additions will be only minimally visible through a playground and other rear yards, that the additions will be seen in context with adjacent altered rear facades and will not detract from the special architectural and historic character of the building or district, that the modern design of the rear facade featuring large window openings, brick panels, and metal spandrels will be in keeping with modern designs found elsewhere in the historic district, that the proposed material and finish of the proposed rooftop addition will help it to blend with the background and will not detract from the streetscape, that the proposed excavation will not substantially eliminate the presence of the rear yard, that the proposed excavation will be below the rear yard and the rear yard will be rebuilt to maintain its relationship to the adjacent rear yards, that limited adjustments to grade level at the rear yard will be compatible with the block, which features modest variations in grade level, and that the excavation of the cellar will be done in compliance with the Department of Buildings regulations under the supervision of a licensed professional engineer to protect this building and adjacent building. However, I find that the proposed full lot excavation at the rear yard eliminates areas that can support trees and other foliage, diminishing the historic character of the central green space within the block, and therefore I recommend that we require that the rear yard excavation be pulled back 5 feet from the lot line to allow for substantial plantings.
Okay, second. All in favor? Any opposed? This application's approved.
Okay, Commissioners, I'm going to read into the record the following
Okay.
5 items.
Read into the
212
record,
Fifth Avenue, 326 Columbus Avenue, 448 West 152nd Street, 721 St. Nicholas Avenue, and 249 West 138th Street, and 65 Jumel Terrace. These will all be presented next week.